Philip Davis MP is a British Member of Parliament, and he's just been re-elected. And I mentioned this in a very recent video. And what I noticed in the media and their reaction to Philip Davis being re-elected was that the fact that he wants to talk about, when feminists in Parliament want to talk about domestic violence against women and girls, he automatically says, well, let's talk about men and boys as well. And for this, and for asking for the same rights for men, he is branded a misogynist. Now, what the problem I have with the women who brand him a woman hater simply for standing up for what's obviously right, is that I fear for the mental health of these women. But more than that, when they're sitting in parliaments and on government bodies all over the world, they are extremely dangerous people. I think I quoted Erin Pitsey, the Refuge Movement founder, just yesterday, as one of her quotes is talking about feminists. They are violent and very disturbed women who need help. Well, that's she's a kindly person. The first kind of help I'd give them is kick them out of all government bodies. Anyway, this is I'm going to read you a little bit of stuff from a guy called Richard A. Gardner, MD, and he was a psychiatrist, sadly no longer with us. And the title of this particular paper or a court review, it's actually called, I'll leave a link obviously, for the American Judges Association, doesn't mean that they agree with him. And the title is Legal and Psychotherapeutic Approaches to the Three Types of Parental Alienation Syndrome Families. And his work has been criticised by feminists, but no wonder. And I'm going to skip down and I'm going to cherry pick and just quote you a little bit of this and see whether you can recognise the same tendencies in feminists who are convinced that when you simply challenge them on their views and simply say, well, look, you want to talk about child abuse, well, all the statistics show that most child abuse is committed by women. Why are you arguing about that? Why are you screaming at me and saying, well, you must hate women to say such lies? No, these are the statistics from social services and bloody God knows what. US Department of Health and Human Services, child maltreatment, I think it was called, the last thing I saw from 2014. That showed that the natural mother is almost twice as likely to abuse children as the natural father. Scottish social service figures, you get bored with them. There are so many of them. Anyway, let me just skip down this article. And I'm not going to read it all because it's too long, but you can find it in the link under the heading Severe Cases of the Parental Alienation Syndrome. And the doctor continues, the mothers of these children are often fanatic. They will use every manoeuvre at their disposal, legal and illegal, to obstruct visitation. Now this paper, I should have pointed out, is from 1991, so that's prior to the 1994 VAWA, Violence Against Women Act, which has destroyed Lord knows how many millions of American families by lying women just making false accusations against innocent men. I think there are between 2 and 3, this is what I've read in the past, 2 and 3 million accusations of domestic abuse levelled, the vast overwhelming majority of them at men, although there are cases aimed at women as well, and false accusations, and I feel just sorry for them. Anyway, the doctor continues, they are obsessed with hatred of their husbands. In many cases, they are paranoid. Sometimes the paranoid thoughts and feelings about the husband are focused on him alone. In other cases, this paranoia is just one example of many types of paranoid thinking. Often the paranoia did not exhibit itself before the breakup of the marriage and is a manifestation of the psychiatric disintegration that often results from protracted divorce, especially custody disputes. Central to the paranoid mechanism is projection. That's the word that I want, projection, because that's what feminists do. They project everything onto men. And these women are the same, these particular women who want to become single mothers. Anyway, he continues, these mothers see in their husbands many objectionable characteristics that actually exist within themselves, to characteristics that they do not wish to recognise. That, to me, is cognitive dissonance also. By projecting these unacceptable qualities onto their husbands, they can consider themselves innocent victims. How many times have I seen this, where a woman is screaming at a man, yelling at a man? I've seen it on YouTube on videos of a woman attacking a man physically. The man slaps her back, and the look of shock on her face, it's as if, how dare you attack? You can't do that to me. And she is absolutely convinced that after trying to beat the living daylights out of the guy, he hit her, and they're convinced that they're the victim. So that goes along perfectly with this. He continues, when a sex abuse accusation becomes incorporated into the package, such mothers may be projecting their own sexual inclinations onto the father. In the service of this goal, they exaggerate and distort any comments the child makes that might justify the allegation. And this is not difficult to do because children normally will entertain sexual fantasies, often of the most bizarre form. I agree with Freud that children are polymorphous perverse. Freud wrote about polymorphous perversity, as did, I'm going to throw this in on a little bit of a tangent, Herbert Marcuse of the notorious disgusting Frankfurt School. He used that to try and brainwash people through his piece, Eros and Civilization, I believe he was the title of that thing. And they thereby provide these mothers with an ample supply of material to serve as nuclei for their projections and accusations. Such mothers, he says, do not respond to logic, confrontation with reality, or appeals to reason. That's, women. This is women brainwashing themselves. And I know I've mentioned it on a good number of videos. Yuri Bezmenov, Soviet defector, as he said about brainwashing, you can shower a brainwashed person with the truth and they can't see it. And these women, they do it to themselves. Doctor continues, they will readily believe the most preposterous scenarios provided by or elicited from their children. Experienced and skilled mental health examiners who claim that there is no evidence for the accusation are dismissed as being against them, as being bribed by the husband, and this is typical of paranoid thinking. It does not respond to logic, and any confrontations that might shake the system is rationalized into the paranoid scenario. Even a court decision that there is absolutely no evidence of that the father is guilty of sex abuse does not alter her beliefs nor reduce her commitment to deprecation of the father. Energizing the rage is the hell hath no fury like a woman scorned phenomenon. The children of these mothers are similarly fanatic. They often share her paranoid fantasies about the father. They may become panic-stricken over the prospect of visiting their father. Their blood-curdling shrieks, panic states, and hostility may be so severe that visitation may seem impossible. If placed in the father's home, they may run away, become paralyzed with morbid fear, or be so destructive that removal becomes necessary. Unlike children in the moderate and mild categories, their panic and hostility may not be reduced quickly in the father's home. However, there are children in this category whose state of agitated rage against the father will become reduced if required, especially by court order, to remain in their father's home over an ongoing period. Anyway, there's loads more information in this document. Like I say, I'll leave a link. But I'm just wondering how many single mothers in this country, or women divorcing fathers, I've seen this irrationality in them. I've seen women who loved their former husbands go from loving them to hating them with every. It's just like when they spoke about them, it was like evil was emanating from every pore in their skin as they just poured out venomous hatred against a guy that, I don't know, 2 months ago they loved him. Sometimes it's when they catch him having an affair, but women have affairs just as much as men. And I swear to goodness, I saw an article, I've seen more than one study that suggests that married women these days in Western countries are more likely to have affairs than married men, and that this has a worse effect on children than fathers having an affair. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up there, but this article is well worth reading. It's a long read, but well worth reading, and thank you very much.